Okay, so I guess we are all here. I'll get things set up here so I can make sure we're recording. Welcome. It's nice to be here this morning. I am very excited about your one-to-one rollout today. My name is Heather Callahan, and I'm here to go over some digital citizenship things with all of you. I am from Grand Island, Nebraska. My role is technology integrationist at Northwest Public Schools. One of the things that I do and I also have a passion for is talking to students and adults about digital citizenship and your digital presence. What are you doing online and how is that going to affect your future? Before we get started with my slides and information, I know you guys are a little mixed up today. There's different grade levels and some of you may know each other, some of you may not. So if you would stand up and partner up with one other person for me. Just stand up and partner with one person right by you.
Go. Hey, let's do that. Stand up. Partner up.
Okay, identify a person A and a person B. With a partner, A and B. All right, person A, raise your hand. Okay, person A. I want you to pretend like you are getting off of an airplane and you haven't seen person B in 6 months, and you're going to greet them. Go. Those of you coming in, what we're doing is we partnered up. We identified a person A and a person B with a group of two. Person A was to pretend like they're getting off of an airplane and hadn't seen person B in like 6 months. So you're supposed to do that impression. You haven't met that person in 6 months. Okay, now person B, here's your job. Everybody stand back up. If you're just getting in here, make sure to just partner up with one person. Person B. Whoever has B. Okay? I want you to show person A how to do the safety leg. Like you heard this morning, the slides that I'm going to share with you today are on the Canvas site, so if you need any of that information, you can follow along if you would like to. It'll all be up here. There's not a lot of text or anything. I like to present with pictures and little bits of text so that you can get a feel for what the pictures represent. Speaking of what represents, just a little bit about me. I said I was from Northwest High School and I do digital citizenship and tech integration. These are my two girls. My husband and I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Digital citizenship is important to me, and it's also important that I show that type of stuff to my kids. My 5-year-old is on the iPad a lot. She likes to use the iPad. She likes to grab my phone and take pictures and things like that. And so, although you guys are 7 through 12, I find it very important to talk digital citizenship with kids as young as kindergarten. So if you have brothers and sisters at home, you have cousins, you're going to see family over Christmas break, some of the things that I share with you today, it's very important to take that into consideration and share that information with family and friends, brothers and sisters that might be even younger than first grade, even kindergarten or preschool. Okay? We all know that the internet is where it's at. We're all on the internet, we're connected. How many of you were connected this morning? Whether you checked Twitter, maybe you checked Instagram, maybe you sent a tweet, maybe you are still on Facebook and you check that. How many of you have made a connection already this morning? This slide right here, I'm going to click on the link here for you. Okay, this is the internet in real time. And what you're seeing here, Since I clicked on this site, this is what has happened on the internet. Look how many, watch the numbers change. Look at the hours of YouTube content being watched, Amazon purchases. That's always interesting to me, especially a couple days before Christmas. It goes down. LinkedIn, all your social media accounts, Snapchat's being sent. How many of you have sent a Snapchat already this morning? Okay. Not that you didn't know this already, but that just kind of showcases and it kind of helps the adults in the room realize that regardless of where we're at with technology, we're constantly connected, whether we're doing something educational, whether we're sending pictures, whether we're sending text, ordering things online. And so it's awesome that you guys all have an opportunity to utilize Chromebooks in your classroom. You're going to have situations where you might sit through a science class, you might sit through a math class, and you leave that day. The teacher might have done a fantastic job going over the content, but you would get home and you're thinking, oh, I do not know how to do my assignment, I can't remember what the teacher said, or maybe she just went too fast because it was shortened period. You have this awesome opportunity to log on to YouTube, okay, to log on to other apps and find videos of other teachers teaching that same math concept to help you review and go over it. Not because the teacher did a terrible job, but because it's an opportunity for you to pause and slow down the content, maybe rewind, maybe work and collaborate with a partner. But your device gives you that opportunity to connect in a way that will help your education in any subject area. Maybe you need to collaborate with a student after hours. A lot of you are probably involved in activities. Who's involved in activities? Sports, music, other things outside of school. Maybe you have a job. And so sometimes during the school day, you don't have as many opportunities to connect. Your device is going to give you those opportunities. In addition to those opportunities, one of the things that's kind of a theme to my presentation is the selfie factor. And when you take selfies and you post them, you have to think of your SPF, or your selfie protection factor. What does that selfie say about you? Maybe you had someone in the photo with you. Maybe it was an ussie or a groupie or whatever the terminology is for when you take that selfie. What are you doing with it? Who are you sharing it with? Okay? So that being said, I love to take selfies with my kids. I don't like to take them by myself. My husband hates them. My kids love them, and I love taking them in session. So if you have a device on you, you can use your Chromebook, you can use your phone. We're going to take a big group selfie before I continue on to share on your Fairbury website. If you haven't taken one, so go ahead and you can take one, or you can be part of the one that I'm going to take. Go ahead and stand up. See if I can get connected to mine. I don't know how many Bluetooth devices I can. Hey, everybody, if anybody wants to be in this group selfie, make sure you can find yourself in here. All right, ready? This is the first session. All right, anybody that wants to take one, did you get a picture taken? Awesome. Okay, now here's the question. When you talk about taking these selfies, we all just took a selfie. I have a picture that includes most of you, if not all of you, in this picture. Who owns that picture I just took? You. I do. If I post it, let's say my friend Kristen is sitting up here. If I send that picture to Kristen, who owns that picture? I still have it, but what can she do with that picture? She can edit it, she can send it on. I no longer have rights to that picture. If I send her that picture, let's say it wasn't a selfie that I took, let's say I took a Snapchat picture, and she screenshotted it. Could she still send it and do other things with that photo? Yes. Absolutely. And that's one thing I want you to be aware of. Selfies are fun. I enjoy taking them when I'm at certain locations and doing things, but it's also important to think before you post them and before you send them. Is it appropriate? Is it going to affect my digital footprint? Because anything you do online anymore, guys, the reputation that you have, the image that you have online, is going to play far more weight in your life than any printed or typed out resume that you will have. What that means for you is that when you are going to apply for a job, and for some of you this seems very far away, maybe you want to go to college and you're applying for a scholarship, maybe you want to play football for a school, maybe you want to go to law school, maybe you're just applying for a high school job, you want to play sports, just scholarships in general, anything that you would do in your future, I can guarantee you that you're going to be Google searched. You might have a fantastic resume. You're involved in all sorts of activities, you have great recommendations, your boss at your job loves you, you've done a great job in school, your teachers recommend you, all those types of things. But the activity and the things that you do online could change all that. And I'm going to continue kind of referencing back to that digital resume because what you're doing online today, yesterday, tomorrow, next week, over Christmas break, all of that plays into your digital resume and your digital footprint that's going to follow you, okay? Those types of things will follow you. And the whole idea that what you do online, you can delete and erase is not true. You might be able to delete it temporarily or on the surface level, but those things can always be brought up again. Law enforcement, police, investigators have so many things they can do, so much power as far as rectifying that information or pulling up those photos or pulling up those text messages. You know, a simple call from the police department to Verizon or whatever your cell phone company is, all of those records, all of your sent and received messages can be rectified and be used against you in court or in a situation if necessary. Okay? So I have kind of a funny video here, and it just references what you're doing online and what things you're posting. And anybody know the movie? Christmas Story.
Flick's spine stiffened, his lips curled in a defiant sneer. There was no going back now.
How many of you have seen that clip from the Christmas Story? Okay, I play that for a simple reason. I was trying to find a video that kind of correlates to things we do and how we take videos. How many of you have taken a video and posted it? Appropriate, not appropriate, whatever. We're taking videos all the time. Now that video right there, that's just an example of how, as kids, even adults, you take pictures and videos that might be considered silly. Maybe not inappropriate, but just silly, dumb, crazy videos. And that's an example. It's funny, it's humorous, you were laughing. Now that video, is that something that would affect his digital footprint? Or if you took a video like that, would it affect your digital footprint? Depends on the situation, okay? Not necessarily is that inappropriate, but if it was taken at a time that you weren't supposed to be doing something or at a location, you know, things can come back and haunt you because it was taken at a time when you were supposed to be in school and you were called in excused, or, I mean, there's lots of different scenarios that could play into that. Or if it was at a location that you weren't supposed to be and someone could look back at the video and see certain things that would be alarming, it could cause that. Now, could it be just fine? Absolutely. In that situation, it's just an innocent video. If you took a video like that, replicated that scene from Christmas Story, it's innocent, no big deal. Okay? And so I'm not here to say to you shouldn't be taking photos, because I want you to think about building that digital resume as well. I want you to think about what can you do so when you apply for a job, you apply to go to college, maybe you're applying for scholarships and then you are Google searched. What can you do so that when you're Google searched, that person will say to you, I want you to play for my team. I want you to go to my school. You are awesome, you represent yourself well, you speak highly of people, you post great things, you boost people up, you're positive. What kind of information is out there when you are Google searched so that when you are in that situation, someone will say, I want you to play on my team. I want you to play volleyball for me, I want you to run on my cross country, I want you to do track, I want you to play football, I want you to attend my law school program, whatever it may be. And so that being said, although I want you to be cautious about what you're posting, you are at a prime opportunity to use social media appropriately. It's not about whether you do social media, it's how you do it. So if I was going to be Google searched, I'll reference my friend Kristen over here. She works at ESU in the state. So if I was going to leave Northwest Public Schools and I was going to apply for a position at ESU, right now I would love for Kristen to Google search me. I want her to look at my digital footprint, so when she sees that I use Twitter professionally, or I post positive things about my school when I'm at basketball games or music concerts or things, I want her to say, wow, she has a positive presence. So besides her resume, she represents herself the same way online. It's not like what I have on paper says I'm awesome, or says I have good grades, says I had a good ACT score, I have great reference letters, but what my online identity or my online presence is also very positive and represents myself. You have to go out there and tell your story. And the one thing I want to say about telling your story is if you don't tell your story and represent yourself in a positive way, someone else will. How many of you have ever had a situation where someone posted something online or sent a snap or posted an Instagram picture, whatever, with you or about you that you would have rather them not done? Has anybody ever had a picture taken or a text sent about them, an Insta post, Snapchat? Anybody? There's a few of you, okay? You are in control of what you post. And so when we talk about your digital footprint and your digital resume, it's not just the information that you put out there about yourself, it's also what others post about you. And it kind of stinks because I can control what I post. If I want to take a Snapchat or a selfie and send it to my friends back at Northwest, I can control that. What I can't control is if I put it on Instagram and other people comment on my post. Or they take that picture and send it on and do something with it. And so what I try to tell students and adults that I work with is flood that internet with positive things about yourself, so when those negative things appear, they're so far down in that Google search that it's not prevalent. It's not all the way up. It's not up there on the Google search. You know, and think about it. Promote yourself, but surround yourself with people that would promote you on the internet in a positive way. Surround yourself with people that if I send you a text message, you're not going to take that picture and send it on. Because your digital footprint or your digital resume is not just what you put out there. It also includes the interactions that you have with others, the stuff that they post about you, okay? And sometimes that's the hardest thing to understand. Because when you go and apply for that job, they're going to Google search you. When you apply for that scholarship, you want to play football for this college. You want to go to law school. Maybe you're just going out into the workforce. They're just going to Google search you, and they're going to find that information. Now this slide is more for the adults in the room, because when I was applying for a job, and some of you can relate to this, I would send in my paper copies of my resume. I'd make a phone call, I want to apply for this job, or I want to apply for this scholarship. And I would mail a cover letter and mail a resume. How many of you have ever done a cover letter or resume in a class? I know some classes have you do that. Maybe you've started a resume. And if you haven't done it, you're going to do it. But what's interesting about this slide right here is when I was applying, the first impression was those pieces of paper that I mailed in. And then when I actually went into the room to do the interview or went to the place to meet the admissions counselor or meet the person interviewing me for a job, the first impression was that handshake. And that does not happen anymore. You may not even get an opportunity to shake hands with that coach, shake hands with that admissions officer, shake hands with that employer, because of your digital footprint could have taken you off that list of possible candidates. So I want you to think about that carefully as well. When you're online and you're doing those things, you may think that everything you put out on paper, you may have an opportunity to have that first handshake, but your digital footprint plays a larger role in some of that than we think. This is kind of for the adults in the room, and kids, you can relate to this as well, whether you're in 7th grade, whether you're a senior, junior. We're all on a digital playground. We're all out there. We're all on a playground, whether you're using Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, all of those social media sites. Maybe you're just YouTube. Maybe you upload YouTube content. Even when you're on Canvas right now, you're connected to the internet. And as adults and people in the room, parents, all of us need to be aware that this digital playground, we need to be there. And so I always challenge parents and adults that you need to be on these social media accounts just as much as your kids are. Whether you have kids of your own or your students, just being familiar. You don't have to post on Twitter. You don't have to send Snapchats. You don't have to post on Instagram. But just having an opportunity to view the content and see what it's all about. Being familiar with why they do it. It's really hard sometimes to understand, but when you get in there and play on that playground and you're on that same playing field, you have a better understanding of what all those things mean. This is just a slide that showcases some, definitely not all, of some of the ways to connect with social media. How many of you are connected to at least 5 of these? Raise your hand. Connected through 5 or aware of 5 of them? 4? How about 6? Anybody? All 6 of them? Or know what they are? These are just simple ways. We've got Snapchat, Yik Yak, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. They're all just samples of social media that you can connect with. Now, what is similar about all of these? What is similar about all of these is they definitely have a place that involves your digital footprint. Anything you do for your interactions on those affects your digital footprint. Now, who knows what this is? It says it on the slide. Not a pound sign. A hashtag. And this is probably one of my favorite things to talk about for students and adults because hashtags tell stories. Usually when I do this presentation with adults, they ask a lot of questions because hashtags for adults are hard to understand. It's just a bunch of words shoved together with a number sign in front, and you don't quite understand what it means. Now, students, hashtags tell stories. There are great hashtags. I believe, does Fairbury Jeffs have a hashtag in your school? I know you have a Twitter account. Do you have a hashtag that you use? Okay, so when you follow that hashtag, just like when I follow the Northwest hashtag, I expect to see, it's like a TV channel, but when I follow the hashtag, I see lots of posts that promote your school's activities. Probably today there's lots of stuff being posted about the awesome one-to-one deployment and the activities that are going on. But on another note, there are hashtags that tell stories that may not be so appropriate. So when we talk about what you're posting, okay, we talk about what you're posting, and we talk about the pictures that you're posting and the text that you're posting affecting your footprint, the hashtags do too. What are you saying with your hashtags? Things like MCM, nod your head. Am I talking the right language? MCM, WCW, OOD. I have a shopping, hashtag shopping. The hashtags are going to tell your story as well. So regardless of what you're posting, I want you to think about the hashtags that you're using because those can affect you as well. It's almost like using foul language or poor language online. Your hashtags, what you're involved in, affects that as well. If you post something with an inappropriate hashtag, it says a lot about you. It affects your digital footprint. How many of you, there's a Walmart in Fairbury, right? Yes? How many of you have been to Walmart in the last 2 days? 2 or 3 days? We're just coming off a weekend, and it's almost Christmas time. Okay, this is my favorite comparison. How many of you have heard about posting and heard about the grandma rule? If you do not think you want your grandma to know about it, or see it, or hear it, you probably shouldn't post it, right? I like to call it the Walmart rule, okay? When you go to Walmart, it's usually packed, right? There's usually people everywhere, especially this time of year. So what I like to say is, if you go to Walmart, what you post online, it doesn't matter if your friends list is closed down, you only approve people, whatever. If you post something online, it's almost like standing on the corner by Walmart and shouting it from the rooftops. Okay, so if I had a picture of, that I posted, the picture of my girls that I took for Christmas, I posted that on my Facebook account for my family to see. Was I comfortable with that? Yes. Now, if you ask me, would I feel comfortable taking that picture and standing right outside Walmart on the corner and holding it up? Sure, that's fine. I don't mind. There's nothing on there that identifies my personal information. I didn't post my address. I didn't post my phone number. I didn't post my Snapchat username for random people to see. I just posted the picture. So those are the things you have to think about when you post online, whether you take a picture at a basketball game. Maybe you take a picture today at this activity, and you post it on your Tumblr account, or you post it on Twitter, or you post it in a Snapchat. It's like standing on the corner at Walmart and shouting it out, or sharing it with a bunch of people that you don't know. And it's hard to realize and understand that because, my Facebook is shut down. Only my friends can see my posts. But you never know who's going to take a screenshot of that Facebook post. So it is still like posting it on the corner of Walmart and sharing it. So if you don't want random strangers to see it or know about it, then don't post it, okay? And I mentioned briefly about sharing things in your profile, and we talk about that at the end of my presentation when I talk about doing some digital dusting. But that's the same thing. When you have a profile and you put whatever your profile name is, and you say, I like basketball, I play volleyball, I'm a Fairbury Jeff, whatever's in your profile information. When you start putting information that relates to your account, usernames for Snapchat, Instagram, those types of things, you're asking for all those people at Walmart to follow you on those accounts. And so you have to be careful of that. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, about how to do some digital dusting, so you can mold that digital footprint and that digital resume the way you need to. This is, I have one other video that I want to show you, and then I'll move on to some digital dusting. This one is awesome. It really relates to, some of you are going to be applying for jobs, like I said earlier, applying for jobs, applying for scholarships, doing those types of things. And sometimes we think, you know what, my Facebook is closed down. My Twitter is private, my Instagram is private, and I'm going to apply for that job. But situations similar to this young lady in this video do happen.
Hiya. Oh, you must be Amy. Yeah. Hi, I'm Linda. Nice to meet you. And you. Right then. Well, we better get started because the shop's got to be open at 10. So, why have you applied for the weekend position with us? Well, I love fashion and I particularly like your clothes design here too. Thank you. I see that your school grades are really good. Yeah, I'm very dedicated to my work. That's good. Of course, working in a shop will involve lots of face-to-face interaction with customers. Is that something you think you can cope with? Oh yeah, I'm very sociable and I get on well with everybody. I see. What about Brenda Sharp? It's just that it says here that you wouldn't be seen dead with her. Oh. Any other hobbies or interests? Yeah, I'm part of my local athletics club. Really? Yeah, I did a sponsored. It doesn't say anything about that here either. It does mention, however, that you are part of the I Hate Brenda Sharp group. In fact, it would seem that you started it. Poor girl. I wonder what would happen if she were to come into the store and you were to serve her. I have to say that the photos that you've attached are really not at all flattering. What else? Oh yes, shoplifting, substance abuse. No. Pardon? Well, that's not true. That can't be on there. You put it here. Look, I have to say, you seem perfectly nice, but you really don't give a good account of yourself. Should you be looking at that? Well, you might not have meant me to, but it's here. Oh, it's at the time, I've got customers waiting. Thank you for coming.
I really like that term, digital dirt. I really like how that happened and that she played that through. She's very lucky that she even got an interview because obviously they had done a Google search of her prior to her coming in. But in a learning experience idea, she had an opportunity to go in there and interview. So now she knows that her digital dirt is out there for other people to see. So I want you to think about that for a minute. I have a couple of challenges, and I want you to think about what your digital dirt would look like. What does your digital resume, what does your digital presence look like? What story are you telling? Are you telling a story that represents you in a great way? You promote yourself in a positive way, your friends, your school, your family. And so when you think about that, how many of you have done a Google search of yourself? Whether you did a regular content search or whether you did an image search, I have a couple things that I want to challenge you to do either today, tomorrow, over Christmas break. I really do want you to do a Google search of yourself. And if you want to do it right now, that's fine. But I want you to think about a couple things. I have done this slide before, and I've done this in my Google search. I did another one yesterday and screenshotted a different one. And it's awesome to see when you do a Google search of yourself what comes up, and then do it a month or two later and see what comes up, because it really portrays. If I was going to go to an interview, like I said earlier, and someone was going to do a Google search of me, this is what came up right away. You got my Facebook, you got images, and then you got Twitter. Now, I was telling Kristen last night, the image searches, not all of those are me, and that's going to happen to you. When you do a Google search, it's inevitable that there's going to be someone out there with the same first name or the same last name, and so you might get some things that aren't you. Usually the person that's looking for information for you can decipher what's you and what's not you based on what happened. I mean, if you look at those pictures, you can see similarities in the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth ones that do represent me. And then you can see the other things. If they click on that, they can go a little bit further based on what accounts are open and what accounts are not. But what I want you to do is I want you to Google search, because those top things that come up are the things that are going to be important when you are Google searched. Now, I've had a couple situations. I used to teach middle school technology, and I always did a lesson on doing Google searching with middle school kids. And one of the things that stands out in my mind from one of those experiences, I had a middle school girl do a Google search of herself, just like we wanted to, and she happened to be appalled at a picture that came up on her image search. Okay? The reason being was, it was not a picture that she had taken. It was a picture that someone else had posted and tagged her in, so it came up in her search. I say that to you because earlier when I talked about your footprint ingredients being what you post and what other people post about you, that's a prime example of how other people posting stuff about you can affect your digital footprint. So you have to think about that and be considerate of that about others. You can't always control what other people post about you, but if you are someone that's always posting something positive and you stay away from that digital drama, the chances of those types of things happening to you could be less. So those are things that may be out of your control. And she was very disturbed by that. But what she did instead, what I challenged her to do, was to keep posting in a positive way. The more you post to tell your story, the more positive things are going to come up, and eventually those negative things will go down on that Google search, and so those top 5 would be the things that you most recently interacted with online. Okay? Everything that you're doing online is generally ending up in your permanent record. Okay? You need to do your best to flood Google with positive things about you. It's almost like being on Candid Camera. Some of the adults in the room might remember that show. But that's what I'm saying about your Google search. You need to do what you can to flood Google with great things and positive things about you that tell your story. You want your story to be a great one, and you want other people to read or hear your story via Google, via blogs, via Twitter, Facebook, whatever you're connecting with. Some of you may be blogging. But anything you can do to make that trail of awesome stuff jump out when people do Google searches. Because it's almost like you're on candid camera. Do I have any idea how many of you in the room right now took a picture of me or took a Snapchat of me doing this presentation? No, I don't. But to me, it's something that you need to think about too, because when you're in situations, you have no idea when people are snapping those things and where they're posting them. So I like to do things for myself to create that positive digital resume, create that positive digital presence so I can tell my story, okay? You want to know what your story looks like. We talked about putting your resume out there. We talked about building that positive image, checking your Google searches, see what your image searches and your content searches look like. How many of you have set up a Google alert? Any adults in the room set up a Google alert? This is something else. Besides doing the Google search of yourself, if you just go to Google and search Google alert, you can actually set it up. You type in your name, and you can set up Google to notify you when an article or something with your name and content about you shows up online. So a good example would be, well, it's been about a month ago. It's actually happened twice in the last year. But about a month ago, the Grand Island Independent did a digital citizenship feature about me, and I knew this was going to happen because they came in and took my picture and did a bunch of stuff, and I knew they were going to publish an article, but I wasn't sure when the article was going to publish. So on a Sunday evening, I got an email notification, and it was from my Google alert, and it said something about Heather Callahan, Grand Island Independent article, being a good digital citizen. So sure enough, I click on the link that came from my Google alert, and there was the article in the Grand Island Independent. That's what Google alert does. It alerts you when those types of things happen, okay? So it could be something as simple as you scored the game-winning point in a basketball game. Maybe you were the most valuable player in a football game or a volleyball game, or you did something outstanding in school. Those types of articles that are published about you will be part of those Google alerts. And so that's the other piece. Besides doing a Google search, I have challenged you to set up your Google alerts. Today, tomorrow, sometime over break. Put your first and last name in there. You just have to provide an email address that you want that information sent to, and then you can specify how often you want that, okay? If you do not think that admissions officers search your name or Google search you, these statistics will prove differently for you or prove you wrong. Nearly half of law school admissions officers will search a Google search an applicant. That's a lot. Actually do a Google search. And of those law school searches, a third of them searched for them on Facebook. They actually searched them on Facebook. And this one's very interesting. 32% of them found something that negatively impacted that applicant. That's a pretty astounding statistic. 32% in those searches found something that impacted them negatively. Something to think about. So you are Google searched for lots of different things. And this is just law school. So as I close off here, we have a couple more minutes. The last slides and the last information that I want to challenge you with, besides your Google search and your Google alert, is to do some digital dusting. I really talked a lot about telling your story, promoting yourself in a positive way, and how important that is, because what you're posting online now is there forever. Who you're connecting with online is affecting your digital footprint. So if you have goals in the future, things that you're planning to do as you go off to college, go off to the workforce, apply to law school, play sports, what does your digital footprint look like? Who are your friends? Who do you follow? And what does your profile say about you? What about your profile picture? What does your picture say about you? So I challenge you over this break to do some digital dusting. What information are you giving in your profile? Are you giving usernames to your other accounts? Are you inviting complete strangers to add you on Snapchat? Are you inviting complete strangers to follow you on Instagram? Dust those things off. Get disconnected with people that bring you down. If you're just friends with someone or someone is just following you because you saw them at a track meet who knew a friend of a friend of a friend at something from junior high and now you're a junior in high school, clean it up. Digital dusting is powerful. Clean off those friends lists, clean off those people that bring you down. Another piece of digital dusting that I challenge you to do is location. A lot of times when we sign up for these accounts, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram has it as well, when you post your location post as well. And I know sometimes when they redo, like Facebook redid a bunch of things not too long ago, and I had my location turned off, and then all of a sudden it was turned on. And so sometimes when you create those accounts, you just click yes, 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 and you go through, and you don't go back and turn those things off. So take some time to do some digital dusting, not just with your friends list, but what information are you sharing? Are you sharing location? Okay? It's one thing to say that you're at McDonald's on social media, like on social media posting you're at McDonald's after a game. It's another thing to say you're at McDonald's and give a specific address in Fairbury, Nebraska. People don't need to know that. That's private information. It's okay to say that you're at McDonald's, but there's people all over the world. If your Twitter or your Facebook is open and you're posting that information, there's no reason for you to have that. So taking your location off is important. And thinking about your goals. So the things that I've talked about today, if you take, I want you to think about one thing that I talked about, maybe one thing that you're going to do when you leave here today. Are you going to dust off your friends lists? Are you going to tell your story? Maybe you'll start blogging. Maybe you'll tell your story to other people. Maybe you'll change your location, take some stuff off your profile. Maybe you've thought, you know what, I want my digital resume or my digital footprint to look awesome. What are you going to do? What is your selfie protection factor? Next time you take a selfie or you post something online, what are you going to do with it? What is that going to look like to you, and what is that going to look like to others? The last thing I want to say is when you're telling your story, is anybody in here a blogger? Blogging is a very powerful way to tell your story. I blog. I'm not very consistent at it. I even started a blog for my 5-year-old because I wanted to be able to have her tell her story now. I said earlier, tell your story yourself or someone else is going to post about you. So blogging is a great way to start that communication and telling your story. So anything you can do to shape that digital resume for yourself is an awesome way for you to get out there and be represented in a positive way. I want to thank you for your time. This is an awesome 2 days you guys have here. This isn't anything that we did with our Chromebook rollout at Northwest. So I'm very excited for this opportunity. I hope we can replicate something like this. You guys were awesome listeners today. I know you're very excited to move on to your next session and learn more about Chromebooks. Thank you very much for coming. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you have any, I'll be here today and tomorrow. So have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.